Welcome to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and today, once again, I'm joined by Paul Lamb for the Matchworn Celtic Jersey podcast. Welcome back, Paul. How are you doing?
Not bad, Paul. Good to be back, mate.
Always a pleasure. And once again, you have selected 4 jerseys for discussion today. Celtic jerseys seem to be a topic of popular discussion due to the launch of the Adidas jersey over the last week. Interestingly enough, people were saying that they were having to refresh the online store because obviously there were so many orders going in, Paul. I didn't get into all that. I've got to admit, I was kind of busy the other day. I didn't get into it. But it made me wonder if Celtic were struggling to manage their orders coming in at such a rate. If you were to sell 50,000 jerseys in one day, you'd need to have a really, really good website to manage that level of orders, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you certainly would. I mean, your IT guy would be earning his money that day, that's for sure.
He certainly would, aye. Anyway, on to the 4 that you have selected today. Now, the first one, quite interestingly, is a jersey that was worn by a Celtic State of Mind's latest guest, David Elliott. David Elliott can be seen in the team group wearing this particular jersey, and there is a very specific part about this jersey which makes it unique, and I think it was a very difficult one for you to get your hands on, Paul. Tell us about it.
Yeah, again, it's 1989 to 91 home shirt. We featured it before in a Scottish Cup final variety. This one was from Pat Bonner's testimonial in May 1991.
I had seen the Republic of Ireland version of the jersey worn during that particular game, and this was the one where it was the classic Republic Island kit. But it had the biggest, it wasn't embroidery, they had it printed almost like a sponsor, didn't they? Packy Bonner testimonial.
Yeah, pretty much fills the chest of the shirt, that one.
I had seen the jersey in Neely Mockin's collection, and I was asking Bernie Slavin about it as well when I interviewed him, because of course he scored that day at Celtic Park as Celtic won 3-2. A hat-trick by Jerry Craney.
He certainly knew how to find the net back then, Jerry.
We've been speaking a wee bit about Jerry Craney, actually, because I think it's interesting to retrospectively look at people who maybe weren't as appreciated back in the day, and I think that Jerry Craney was one of the guys. He seemed to get a lot of stick. I remember, he came through as a young guy, scored prolifically, scored big goals against Rangers and particularly in Europe, Paul, and he was one of the guys you thought he was going to be a Celtic player for a generation, but we seem to have sold him a wee bit early, I would suggest. What's your thoughts on Jerry Craney looking back?
Yeah, I mean, as you said earlier, he was quite a prolific striker. He's one of the guys that the younger fans could look up to. He's a boy that made it into the team. Always gave you that wee bit of inspiration that one day you could do it, kind of thing. The fan that got good. Again, it's probably just at a time that I think with what other clubs were doing then. He just wasn't that kind of the big name striker that you really wanted, kind of thing. As good as he was, he just wasn't enough for a lot of people, I don't think.
Interestingly enough, this was Paul Elliott's last game for Celtic, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but it was also Billy McNeil's last game as manager of Celtic. And you look at the Republic of Ireland World Cup squad as it was billed, and on the 71st minute on came a substitute by the name of Liam Brady, and it wasn't long before he was taking the manager's seat at Celtic Park. So when you're looking at the lineups and you're looking at guys like Jerry Craney, Liam Brady was soon to be his manager, so he's walked in at Celtic Park, he's looked at the squad that he's got, and you've lost Paul Elliott, so surely that is your priority. You've got to replace the big man. He had made such an impact in the previous season. Got a big move to Chelsea, way back down to London. We spoke to Paul about that the other week. But you're looking at your forwards. You've got Jack Janoski, Charlie Nicholas, Tommy Coyne, Jerry Craney and Andy Walker. So you've got 5 strikers. And then the first thing that Liam Brady does is he brings in Tony Cascarino. So we've got 6 first-team strikers on the books, and we're struggling at centre-half to such a point that more often than not in the early part of the season, Mark McNally was a first pick. So, you're looking at Jerry Craney, you think he's a guy you would have kept a hold of. I can understand why you might look to offload, let's say, Andy Walker. You know, he had gone off the boil. Jack Anoski, inconsistent. Charlie Nicholas was coming to the end of his career. Turned out to have a really good season for Liam Brady. But Jerry Craney, he seemed to be surplus to requirements a couple of years later, and off he went down south. But I think it's a shame when you look back and you're talking to his teammates like Davy Elliott, who rated Jerry quite highly. But this particular match jersey reminds me of that game, reminds me of players like Craney, the departure of Elliott and Billy McNeil, and then the arrival of Liam Brady and everything that entailed as well. Now, tell us a wee bit about this, because it is a rare jersey. I remember you were looking at it. You've got a great testimonial collection, Paul, and of course Pat Bonner had a testimonial for Celtic, and then a few years later he had a testimonial for Ireland against Celtic. So there's two Packy Bonner testimonials. And the jersey, how did you manage to locate this, and were you able to establish any of the match specifics?
Again, as you said, it is quite a rare shirt to get hold of. Myself, I'd only ever seen a couple of the Republic of Ireland shirts with the larger sponsor. I'd never seen Andy that had one of the Celtic shirts from that game. It was a football shirt dealer that had contacted me and said that he had one, you know, sent me pictures and showed me it. Unfortunately, there's no detail on who could have possibly have worn it, if it was worn. You know, it's a full player issue shirt with the embroidered Umbro double diamond with the lettering, the full embroidered crest, obviously with the match detail and the larger C.R. Smith sponsor across it, you know. But unfortunately, it was probably passed through a couple of different people's hands and no actual details were coming with it. And it was quite refreshing to deal with something like that, because there's a lot of temptation when it comes to these big games for someone just to label a player as being the person worn it by, it mainly to drive the price up. You know, if you say for talk's sake it was Paul Elliott or Paul McStay wore this shirt in that game, you know, try and drive the price up, whereas it's just a plain player issue shirt for that game.
No, it is refreshing, because I think we've touched on it a few times over the weeks, Paul, whereby there's a bit of chicanery going on in the background with regards to trying to up the price of jerseys, etc. And there's elite jerseys getting passed off as match prepared, match worn, etc. So that does go on. So it's refreshing that the person you were dealing with was upfront and honest about it. And it's a great jersey for your collection and for your testimonial set as well. So moving on to the next jersey, Paul. This is the away shirt from 2000-2001. Classic yellow with the green shorts and socks. NTL sponsor. You look at that, you think Henrik Larsson. Tell us about the jersey.
Yeah, you say it's the 2000-2001 away shirt. Beautiful, vivid yellow with the petrol green accents on it. Again, we spoke about this previously, about the monochrome badge that features on it, of the same colour with the other accents. This one has been fully prepared for the CIS Insurance Cup final in 2001.
The yellow colour scheme, it's one of the ones it is popular, but historically it has been used time and time again for Celtic, you know, dating back as far as 1970, where we wore the yellow round neck jersey as an away kit. We also have had various other yellow kits. There has been a yellow with the green floppy neck and V insert as well, going through the 1970s, Paul, and then obviously the famous centenary away jersey as well. But this was all about Martin O'Neill. This was a jersey that you can associate with O'Neill's first competitive game at Tannadice in July 2000. We're wearing this jersey. You remember the celebration when Chris Sutton scores the winning goal. We won 2-1, kind of pushed us on to win the first domestic treble since 1969. So yeah, it's a colour scheme that I think is popular with fans. It's no one that Adidas are utilising for their first season as the kit manufacturers, but we did wear it in this cup final. Celtic, on the day, Celtic won 3-0 against Kilmarnock, whose goalkeeper was another guest on A Celtic State of Mind, Mr. Gordon Marshall. Now, we cuffed them 3-0 that day, Henrik Larsson hat-trick. It's one of the ones Marshall got a hard time from quite a few of our listeners online in relation to a couple of games that he played, one with Kelly, one with Motherwell when we lost the league titles, and it seems as though people haven't forgiven him for that, Paul.
Yeah, it's a lot of long memories when it comes to football, unfortunately, good and bad. Personally, I would say, you know, as much as Gordon Marshall was a decent keeper for us, you know, he wasn't playing for us that day, so didn't owe us any favours. There
is that aspect, and I brought it up again, referring to the Davy Elliott interview. I brought it up with Davy because the example I gave was Chick Charnley scoring against us on, you know, Easter Road, first day of the season, 1997-98, celebrated as though he had just scored the winner against Rangers for Celtic, you know, even though it was the worst possible start for Celtic trying to stop the 10 back then. When you're a professional footballer, you're you're dedicated to your craft, and it's one of these things, Paul's. What are we expecting? Are we expecting Marshall to let in a couple of more goals so that we can win the league? I know that it's more down to the time wasting aspect, etc. But do you honestly think a goalie wants to let in a couple of more goals? So Big Marsh was on the pitch that day, but he couldn't stop the King of Kings scoring a hat trick. Celtic won 3-0. You've got a jersey. Whose name and numbers on the back?
This one, it was match prepared for Stilian Petrov, the Petrov number 19 on the back of it. Unfortunately, 4 days before the cup final, Stilian suffered a broken ankle at McDermott Park in a league game against St Johnstone, so was unavailable for the final. But obviously the shirts would be prepared well in advance of the game, because he wouldn't know who would make the squad. So he would have had one or two made up for him, and this is one of them. Yeah,
I thought you were going to say Mialbi, because I remember a few of the collectors picked up a few Mialbi jerseys over the last couple of years, and it just, what sprung to mind was that image that appeared on Twitter and Instagram of Mialbi, almost 50-year-old, standing there, ripped.
Putting us all to lockdown, shame.
Exactly. I know everybody's looking at the lockdown and thinking, I'm going to have to get fit after this, and there an image of Mialbi appears online just to make us feel even better. So when you're looking at this particular lineup, another thing that's stands out for me is our sub goalie that day was Dimitri Karin, and it takes us on to the subject of goalies, Paul. We've allowed Craig Gordon to leave, didn't give him what he wanted, discussed that at length with Colin Watt, think it was the right decision to let him go, particularly when he might have been a third choice next season. Do you think there's still a chance that we'll get Fraser Forster back in for next season?
I suppose until it's definite, there's always a chance. Clearly there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. There'll be probably big number money talking, a lot of number crunching things going on, it's when you're dealing with English Premiership teams, there's more zeros on the end of it than you can imagine nowadays, but can only hope that it does work out for our favour.
Let's hope so, because he's made a massive impact since he's come back for the 4th time. Let's hope he comes back for the 5th time. Now, the third jersey in the list is actually a third jersey from season 2014-15, as designed by Nike. It's I don't know if it's going to appeal to you. I know that you like the white away jerseys, Paul, or the white change jerseys. Is this one of your favourites, or did it not pass the test?
No, instantly this one didn't pass the test. It's a majority plain white shirt, but it has this yellow band across the centre of the chest with green pinstripes either side of it, and a large green cuff at the end of each sleeve. I think it was quite popular with some fans at the time, but it was another one that detail running across it didn't seem to have any kind of purpose in the shirt design for me. No,
I know what you mean, and that is a feature of many jerseys when you start looking at templates as well, Paul, where you can change a template to suit any club just by changing the colourway. And you're looking at that jersey and you think to yourself, well, it's a hoop, right? I get that, it's one hoop. Had it continued and it was a full jersey of hoops like that, it would have looked like one of the dodgy ones that you buy on that website. The ones I think everybody's aware of, where you get a picture of a sniper on the front and then Billy McNeil on the back. And the Celtic State of Mind's logo has appeared on those jerseys, but we have nothing to do with the manufacture of said jerseys. But I'm looking at it and it's almost as cumbersome as that, isn't it? If you imagine those hoops all the way through the jersey.
Yeah.
And I don't know what would have improved it, Paul, to be honest, because other than that, it's just a plain white, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't even know if they'd repeated that hoop design through the shirt, would more likely have made it worse looking, I would think, rather than just removing it altogether.
Without a doubt.
I think even if they'd left it just a plain white shirt with those green cuffs on the sleeves, would have been a really nice shirt, but for whatever reason, someone decided to put that across the chest, and it's a no from me.
I know. It probably would look good on Johan Mialbi at age 50 though, eh? So you're looking at it and it's less is more, Paul. I think that is what we've come to the conclusion on this one. Less is more. That big band is really not striking me in any way whatsoever. I do look at the jersey, I think the two people, I think Lee Griffiths and I think Virgil van Dijk. What can you tell us about the one you've got your hands on?
This one is a match prepared European shirt, so it's the full European spec Europa League sleeve patches, respect patches with the different name set on the back. Again, it's one. It features a small Celtic crest on the bottom of each of the numbers. And this has been prepared for Lee Griffiths when he first started, where it said number 28 on the back of it.
Was this for the game against Dynamo Zagreb?
Yeah, he was an unused sub in that game. It's possible, it's more than likely that he was wearing it on the bench under his training gear because there's a lot of stains on it. And when I first got it, it was heavily scented with a rather expensive smelling aftershave.
Is there any chocolate stains? I know what he likes to do on the bench.
It's got pit stains though.
So this is Dynamo Zagreb 4, Celtic 3, UEFA Cup. No, the UEFA Cup, the Europa League. That's the game we're talking about, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the game then, when you look at it. It's a game with plenty of goals, obviously, and Celtic's centre-half partnership, or pairing rather, was Virgil van Dijk and Efe Ambrose, right? So I said that the jersey reminds me of Van Dijk, and he played in this game. Celtic's goals were scored by Chris Commons, Stefan Skepovic, remember him, and an own goal. We got an own goal with 9 minutes to go. When you actually look at the lineup, the Dynamo Zagreb lineup, I actually asked a question a few weeks ago about players who had played for and against Celtic in Europe. And I'm not even sure if I answered this, including Jozo Simunovic, but Simunovic played in this game for Dynamo Zagreb. He came on as a sub quite early on. But obviously there's been a number of players who have played for and against us, you know, throughout the history of the club, and that was a question. And it was doing the rounds, of course. But Simunovic came on as a young man playing for Dynamo Zagreb back then. He went on, obviously, to have a trophy-laden career for Celtic. He was part of the treble winning side who had a chance of winning 4 trebles in a row. A very good chance, Paul. But obviously he's left us, just like Craig Gordon, who we mentioned before. Simunovic has left the building. I think we still need to strengthen at centre-half, Paul. Any names kicking about? Is there anybody who you fancy?
Well, it's one of the things at the moment. There hasn't been a lot of, or that I've seen anybody, names actually linked with us coming in. Seems to be more talk of people leaving.
We need to get that cleaner to take a picture of the list again, eh? The signing list from the meeting. I think the security's maybe been stepped up since then. But yeah, I mean, it might sound obvious, but I've been touting Benkovic, you know. I did like Filip Benkovic. I thought he looked like a special player, and everybody comes back to me saying, you know, we're going to get rid of one injury-plagued player and replace him with another. I don't know. I think Benkovic would be an excellent replacement for Simunovic. I don't think he's got a career at Leicester City by the looks of him, and I think he would definitely, he knows the club. He knows the expectations. He looked like a class act. As long as it doesn't pave the way for us to sell anybody, you know. I think if we bring in Benkovic, then I'll be much happier at the back. Obviously, El Hamed is coming back from injury, but when you're talking about being injury-plagued, he was out for most of the season, Paul.
Yeah, he was.
And if you're playing him at centre-half, then you're more than likely looking at Frimpong to play a lot of games at right back. And our very own Alan Morrison doesn't think defensively he is that effective. He's much better going forward. So we definitely need a centre-half, I would think, you know. As well as that, Paul, who else or where else do you think we need to strengthen? Centre-half, in goals, do we need another striker?
I think it's always good to have cover in that area. You know, we do get a lot of goals from midfield, but to have that out-and-out goal-scoring threat is always a bonus when it comes to tough games. You want someone you know you can rely on in the middle.
I'm just looking at it, Paul. I'm looking at Eduard, who is far and away the number one choice. Griffiths hopefully partnering Eduard, or you know, maybe he's backup depending on who we're playing. But my issue is after Griffiths, we really are lacking. You've got Bayo and you've got Klimala, and I don't think either of the two of them have shown enough to be a third pick. I mean, you go into a big game, you're playing 2 up front, one of your boys is injured, you're then relying on Bayo or Klimala, and I think that's where we fall down a wee bit. But once again, who do we look at? I've heard Lyndon Dykes. As much as I would love to see the name Dykes on the back of the hoops, Paul, not for me. Absolutely not for me. The player that I was discussing today with a couple of guys on Twitter was Jordan Rhodes, still only 30, out of contract, used to be a goal machine, don't know what went wrong, signed for Sheffield Wednesday 3 years ago for 10 million. You can get him up free of charge. Would you take the punt?
I suppose it could be worth a gamble. It's obviously a proven striker in his time. Whether it's what we're looking for right now, you know, whether they want to bring someone a wee bit younger, I don't know.
Again, we're hedging our bets perhaps. At the end of the day, Celtic, other than that faux pas when there was an image produced of our signing targets, more or less, you know, we keep our cards close to our chest, Paul, don't we? And then the announcement's made. So we've got El Yunusi in. Great move. Hopefully we can get Forster and Benkovic in, and then perhaps a striker. But that's just my opinion anyway, Paul. And I think you're right. I mean, if we can bring in somebody like Jordan Rhodes, and people might be throwing things at their iPads or however they listen to a Celtic State of Mind at that suggestion, I'm pretty sure he would do okay up here. He maybe regain his goal scoring, because, for about 7 years he was a prolific goal scorer. Now, that takes us up to our final jersey of the day, Paul, and it's been worth waiting for because, quite frankly, it's one of the best, I would say, in the history of Celtic jerseys, and certainly one of the best in the modern times. Talk to us about the home jersey of 2017-18.
Yeah, well, as the New Balance deal was just ended, it was fitting to bring this one out because it's, of all the strips they released, this is the best one they did.
By a distance, I think, Paulie.
Yep, classic home shirt to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Celtic winning the European Cup. Nice, plain, simple green and white hoops. Lovely gold accents along the cuffs and the collar. And all the details on the shirt, the monochrome badge in gold, the New Balance logo and the match sponsor, the alphabet sponsor, all in gold. I think the only thing that let this shirt down for a lot of fans was that it's a heat-pressed patch for the badge that's on it and not an embroidered one, which would have been a much finer detail. Yeah,
I think you're right. And, some of the pre-season games, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, because I'm thinking of Anton Rodgers here. We wore that jersey without a sponsor for a few of the pre-season games, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm not sure the Alphabet sponsorship possibly had actually started then, I'm not sure.
Yeah. And when you look at it in a certain light, you don't actually see the New Balance or the crest. And, if you look at it a certain way in the games I'm talking about, because they were particularly sunny days, it's almost just like plain green and white hoops, and it looks fantastic. It just looks brilliant. And it makes you wonder again, I know I'm guessing these days that you would need to display, there's a good question, do you need to display the club crest on the front of the jersey to play in a game, in an association game? I don't know, because when you're looking at the relevance of the 50th anniversary of Lisbon, Paul, it would have been great just to go one season without a manufacturer's logo, without a crest, to have the big numbers on the shorts, the big green numbers on the shorts, just for one game even. But I'm guessing you would need to get special dispensation for that from the authorities. It's one of the things, it just came to my mind. Do you need to have the crest on the front of the jersey? Probably.
I'm not sure if that is, obviously, when it comes to the other logos, your manufacturer and your sponsor, obviously the whole point of them is to advertise their brands, so for them to allow it not to be on it, would take quite a bit. I know over the last 5 years, Alphabet have allowed the Celtic Foundation logo to appear on the shirts in European games.
Yeah.
When gambling sponsorship isn't allowed, which has always been a good touch. And when you look back at the 125th anniversary shirts, the home and the third shirts, where the sponsor was smaller and just sat below the badge, so it was a lot less imposing on the shirt, You still knew it was there, but It wasn't as in your face, That was a really good touch.
It was, yeah. And you see it with the blackout kits as well, Paul, don't you? They're there, but they're the same colour as the fabric. So, black on black, if you like. And would it look good white on white? I think it would. I think it would look brilliant. But, I mean, I look at some of the retro jerseys that they're selling at the moment. Brilliant. The throwback to the classic early 90s jersey that was black and green stripes. Obviously, there's no Umbro logo on there, but the C.R. Smith's on it. And I was wondering, looking at that, they must have a tie-in with Jerry Eadie to have his logo on a retro jet. Otherwise, they just wouldn't have the logo, surely.
I don't know how it works, because obviously it was the same as the retro shirts that the club shop sells. They don't feature any of the original manufacturer's details on them, the Umbro logos or anything like that. Obviously, They do have the club crest and sponsor. I don't know what the deal is there.
It's interesting, because you're looking around the shop, you've got the official club sponsors and then C.R. Smith. I mean, listen, I didn't think Jerry Eadie's going to worry too much, because there's loads of people running about with his business on the front of their jerseys, but you would expect there to be a tie-in somewhere along the lines. So, yeah, one of my favourite jerseys, home, away, third kit, one of my favourite Celtic jerseys of all time, Paul. And it would be great to know who actually wore this. So what details are on the back of this shirt?
This one was worn by captain, leader and legend Scott Brown. It's got the gold name set and the gold number 8 on the back of it.
Yeah, and again, he is looking to lead us to 10 in a row next season, just to add to his iconic status that's already assured. Scott Brown, do you know what game it was worn in, Paul?
I do. the fact that it's came from a former player who swapped with him in the game, and I was asked to kind of keep it a bit confidential, so those details have never been released.
Oh, I like that. Here's another wee bit of info for anybody who's interested. Obviously, one of the tie-ins of having a new manufacturer is the seats are normally taken out and replaced with a big swoosh or the NB logo for New Balance. At Celtic Park stands currently, the NB is still on the seats, but obviously that will be removed and it will be replaced just with green seats. So there will be no Adidas logo on the Celtic Park seats as we speak. You might have noticed that one of the hoops was removed during the Nike deal. That was one of the stipulations, and it went from 3 to 2 because Nike obviously didn't want there to be any Adidas connotations. Are we going to get the third hoop back in, maybe, Paul? That would be nice, now that Adidas are on board.
Yeah, well, it would make sense just to swap the green and white seats around. It's one way of removing the old logo and putting the seats to good use, just to swap them over.
Is that you looking at saving money as well, Paul? Nice one. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Tell us, where can we find your astonishing collection of Celtic jerseys online?
Yeah, all these shirts can be viewed at www.mycelticshirts.co.uk.
Please visit the website, and thank you for tuning in. The only other thing for me to say, Paul, is thank you once again for joining me on A Celtic State of Mind.
No problem, Paul. Pleasure as always.
Nice one.